Judge me, because I honestly don't know anymore. I stood up during the "Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace" part of my best friend's wedding and told everyone the groom was still married to someone else. The entire church went silent. Like, you could hear the organist's breath catch. Sophie's face, my best friend Sophie, in her $8,000 dress with the cathedral train, turned from bridal glow to absolute horror in about 2 seconds. Her fiancé Josh went pale. The officiant actually took a step back like I'd physically pushed him. I had the marriage certificate in my hand. Printed that morning. Still warm from my car's passenger seat where I'd been gripping it for the last hour, trying to decide if I was actually going to do this. I did it. And now I'm here, 3 months later, sitting in my apartment that feels too quiet, trying to figure out if I'm the hero or the villain in this story. Because honestly, I don't know anymore. Sophie and I met in college. Freshman year, random roommate assignment, one of those situations that could have gone either way. We went the good way. She was pre-med, intense, organized, had her entire life planned out in color-coded spreadsheets. I was undeclared, chaotic, living on coffee and impulse decisions. We shouldn't have worked, but we did. For 12 years, we were inseparable. Not in that performative best friend way where you post about each other constantly. In the real way. She was the first person I called when my mom died. I was the one who held her hair back after she failed her MCATs the first time. We knew each other's worst moments, and we stayed anyway. That's why it mattered so much. That's why what happened felt like losing a limb. She met Josh 2 years ago at a hospital fundraiser. He was charming, successful, told stories that made everyone lean in closer. Worked in pharmaceutical sales, made good money, wore expensive watches. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room when he talked to you. Sophie fell hard. And fast. Within 3 months, they were talking about marriage. Within 6, he proposed at some elaborate restaurant with a flash mob and a photographer. The ring was enormous. The engagement photos looked like a magazine spread. I was happy for her. I was. She'd been through bad relationships before, the guy who cheated, the one who was emotionally unavailable, the one who borrowed money and disappeared. Josh seemed different. Stable. Committed. He said all the right things about wanting a family, about supporting her career, about partnership. I was going to be the maid of honor. We went dress shopping, tried cake flavors, debated centerpieces. I threw her a bridal shower. I was fully invested in this wedding, in her happiness. Until I wasn't. It started with something small. We were at her apartment, addressing save the dates, and I asked about meeting Josh's family. "Oh, his parents are in Europe," she said, not looking up from the envelope she was writing. "They can't make the engagement party." "What about siblings?" "You've mentioned he has a sister, right?" They're not close." Family drama. The way she said it felt off. Not like she was explaining something complicated. Like she was repeating something she'd memorized. "Have you met any of them?" Sophie put down her pen. "Why are you interrogating me?" "I'm not. I'm just asking. He has a complicated family situation. Not everyone has a perfect family like you did. My mom had died 2 years earlier. My dad barely spoke to me. I didn't have a perfect family. But I let it go because Sophie's tone had that edge that meant she was done with the conversation. 2 weeks later, we were supposed to meet for lunch. She canceled last minute. Said Josh needed her help with something work-related. Then it happened again. And again. I started noticing she was less available. Our weekly dinners became bi-weekly, then monthly. When we did hang out, she checked her phone constantly. Josh would call and she'd excuse herself, walking away to take it privately. "Everything okay?" I asked once. "Yeah, he just likes to check in." That should have been fine. Couples check in. But the way she said it, the way she'd stand across the room with her back to me, the way her voice got quieter, it felt less like checking in and more like reporting. Josh started making decisions about the wedding. Not collaborative decisions. Unilateral ones. "We're changing the venue," Sophie announced one day. "Why?" "You loved the botanical garden. Josh thinks the hotel ballroom is more elegant. But you said you wanted something intimate, Anne." "It's fine. The ballroom is beautiful." Her smile was tight. The decision was made. The guest list shrank. "Josh wants to keep it small," she explained. "Just close family and friends." But his guest list was 3 times larger than hers. And when I asked about inviting her college friends, she said Josh thought it would be too crowded. The Josh of it all started to grate on me. Not because he was involved, of course he should be involved, but because Sophie was disappearing into his preferences, his opinions, his decisions. "Are you sure you want this?" I asked her once, carefully, over coffee. Her eyes flashed. "Want what?" "To marry the love of my life?" "No, I mean, are you happy with how the wedding planning is going?" "Why wouldn't I be? It just seems like you're not getting much say in. Not everyone needs to control every detail like you do. Some of us can compromise." That stung. I'm not controlling. I'm careful. There's a difference. But I backed off because I didn't want to be that friend. The one who couldn't be happy for someone else. The one who stirred up drama where there wasn't any. Except I think there was drama. I just couldn't see it yet. 3 months before the wedding, I went to Josh's office to drop off some wedding contracts Sophie had forgotten at my place. She was in surgery, couldn't leave the hospital, asked if I could run them over. His office was in this sleek downtown building, all glass and steel. I gave my name at the front desk. The receptionist looked confused. "Who are you here to see?" "Josh Patterson. Pharmaceutical sales." She typed into her computer, frowned. "We don't have anyone by that name working here." "Are you sure?" "He's been here for like 4 years. I've been at this desk for 6. There's no Josh Patterson." My stomach did this weird flip. Maybe I have the wrong building? Maybe. But I didn't have the wrong building. Sophie had given me the address. She'd picked Josh up from work. I'd seen him walk out of this building. I stood on the sidewalk, holding these contracts, trying to make sense of it. Maybe he worked for a different company in the building. Maybe the receptionist was new and didn't know everyone. Maybe he'd just gotten laid off and was embarrassed to tell Sophie. I should have called Sophie right then. Should have said, "Hey, weird thing happened, can you clarify?" Instead, I went home and Googled Josh Patterson. Dozens of results. None of them him. I tried Josh Patterson pharmaceutical sales. Josh Patterson plus the city name. Josh Patterson plus Sophie's last name in case there were engagement announcements. Nothing. It was like he didn't exist online. No LinkedIn. No Facebook. No professional profiles at all. That's when I really started digging. I told myself I was just being thorough. Looking out for my friend. Making sure everything was legitimate before she married this guy. If I found nothing wrong, great. If I found something, better now than after the wedding. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $1,500 I didn't really have, but I needed to know. The investigator's name was Rita. Mid-50s, former cop, no nonsense. We met at a coffee shop and I explained the situation. "You think he's hiding something," she said. Not a question. "I don't know. Maybe I'm paranoid." "You're not paying me $1,500 because you're paranoid. You're paying me because you're scared of what you'll find." She was right. Rita came back 2 weeks later with a file. We met at the same coffee shop. She didn't say anything, just slid the folder across the table. "You're going to want to sit down for this." I was already sitting. "His name isn't Josh Patterson. It's Josh Whitmore." He changed it legally 4 years ago. Okay. Name changes aren't that weird. People do it. He's still married. The coffee shop noise faded into this weird white noise buzz. What? Married. Legally. To a woman named Rebecca Whitmore in Oregon. They got married 8 years ago. No divorce filing. No separation agreement. As far as the state is concerned, he's a married man. I stared at the marriage certificate in the folder. Josh Whitmore and Rebecca Whitmore. Date, 8 years ago. Official seal. Very real. Does she know about Sophie? I contacted her. She thought Josh was on an extended work assignment. He sends her money every month. Tells her he's coming home soon. My hands were shaking. He's living a double life. Looks like it. Does Rebecca know he's about to marry someone else? She does now. I showed her the engagement announcement. She was not pleased. I felt sick. What do I do with this? Rita leaned back, studied me. That's not my call. I found the information. What you do with it is up to you. I sat in my car for an hour after that meeting, staring at the folder. I could tell Sophie. Of course I could tell Sophie. That was the obvious choice. Show her the evidence, let her confront Josh, let her decide what to do. But a part of me, the part that had watched her pull away over the past 2 years, the part that remembered her snapping at me, the part that was tired of being dismissed, wondered if she'd even believe me. Would she think I was jealous? Would she accuse me of trying to sabotage her happiness? Would she choose him over the truth? I played out the conversation in my head 100 times. Sophie, I need to tell you something about Josh. What now? Can't you just be happy for me? He's married. Still married. To someone else. That's ridiculous. Where did you even? I have proof. And then what? She'd look at the certificate, maybe. Or she'd accuse me of fabricating it. Or she'd say there was an explanation, that Josh would clear it up, that I was overreacting. I know Sophie. When she's committed to something, she doesn't let go easily. It's what made her a good doctor. It's what made her a stubborn friend. I called her. Can we talk? In person? I'm swamped this week. Can it wait? It's important. Is someone dying? No, but... Then it can wait. I have a 12-hour shift, then wedding stuff. Maybe next week? Next week turned into the week after. Every time I tried to schedule something, she was busy. Josh needed her. The wedding planning needed her. Her job needed her. I stopped trying to meet in person. Send a text, call me when you have a minute. Need to talk about something serious. She replied 6 hours later, everything okay? Just need to talk to you about the wedding. Oh God, did the florist cancel? I knew that place was flaky. No, it's not the florist. It's about Josh. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, if this is another thing about him being controlling, I really don't want to hear it. You've made your opinion clear. I hadn't made my opinion clear. I'd asked if she was happy. Once. But that text told me everything I needed to know. She'd already decided I was against her. Against them. Anything I said would be filtered through that lens. So I made a different decision. I would wait until the wedding. Until the moment when someone could object. And I would object. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. Was it the kindest way to handle it? Probably not. But here's what I figured. If I told Sophie privately and she didn't believe me, she'd marry him anyway. And I'd have tried to warn her and failed. She'd cut me off, marry a bigamist, and I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have done more. If I told Sophie privately and she did believe me, she'd confront Josh. He'd lie. He'd have some explanation. He'd been lying to 2 women for years. He was good at it. And Sophie, who wanted this wedding, who'd planned everything, who'd sent out invitations and booked a venue and bought a dress, she might convince herself to believe him. But if I objected at the wedding, in front of everyone, with proof? He couldn't lie his way out of that. Not in front of 150 people. Not in front of her family. Not with a legal document in my hand. It would be humiliating for Sophie. I knew that. It would ruin the wedding. I knew that too. But better a ruined wedding than a ruined life. At least, that's what I told myself. I barely slept the night before. Kept running through scenarios. What if I was wrong? What if there was an explanation I hadn't considered? What if the marriage certificate was fake somehow, and I was about to humiliate my best friend based on false information? I called Rita at midnight. Are you absolutely sure about the certificate? I pulled it from official records myself. It's real. And there's no divorce filing? None. I checked again yesterday. He's legally married to Rebecca. Okay. You're still going to do this? I have to. Good luck. The wedding was at 2 p.m. I got there early, wearing the burgundy bridesmaid dress Sophie had picked out. It fit perfectly. She'd been so excited about these dresses, about all of us matching, about the photos looking cohesive. I felt like I was wearing a costume. The other bridesmaids were in the bridal suite, drinking champagne, fussing over Sophie's hair. She looked beautiful. Really beautiful. Her makeup was perfect, her dress fit like it had been painted on, and she was glowing. There you are. She grabbed my hands. I was worried you weren't going to make it. Wouldn't miss it. She hugged me, and for a second I almost told her right then. Almost pulled her aside and showed her the certificate and cancelled everything before it started. But Josh's groomsmen were in the hallway. His family, or whoever they were, filled the front pews. The officiant was checking his notes. The photographer was setting up shots. If I told her now, she'd have to make the decision herself. She'd have to be the one to call it off, to face everyone, to explain why. This way, I'd be the bad guy. She could be the victim. She could hate me instead of hating herself for almost marrying him. At least, that's what I told myself. The ceremony started. I walked down the aisle with my assigned groomsmen, smiled at the guests, took my place at the altar. Sophie came down the aisle with her dad, and everyone stood. She was crying happy tears. Her dad was crying. Half the church was crying. I felt like I was going to throw up. The officiant started the ceremony. Standard vows, standard readings. Josh looked confident. Sophie looked radiantly happy. Then came the moment. If anyone objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. It's mostly ceremonial now. Nobody actually objects. The officiant barely paused. I stepped forward. I object. The silence was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. Sophie's face went from confusion to betrayal in real time. What are you doing? I'm sorry. My voice shook. I'm so sorry, but you need to see this. I pulled out the marriage certificate. Held it up so the front rows could see. Josh is already married. Legally married. To a woman named Rebecca Whitmore in Oregon. They've been married for 8 years. There's no divorce. This wedding can't legally happen. Josh's expression shifted from shock to anger to calculation in about 3 seconds. This is insane. Sophie, she's lying. I have the certificate right here. Official seal. You can verify it. I walked forward, tried to hand it to Sophie. She didn't take it. Just stared at me like I'd stabbed her. You're lying, she whispered. You've hated him from the beginning. You couldn't stand that I was happy. I can prove it. Look at the certificate. Look at his real name, Josh Whitmore, not Patterson. He changed it 4 years ago. Rebecca thinks he's on a work assignment. He sends her money every month. The church erupted. People talking over each other, standing up, pointing. Josh's family, or the people pretending to be his family, looked genuinely shocked. Maybe they didn't know either. Sophie's father stepped forward, took the certificate from my hand. Read it. His face went pale. Is this real? He asked Josh. It's a misunderstanding. An old marriage that was supposed to be annulled but you're still legally married, Sophie's father said flatly. It's complicated. It's bigamy, I said. What you were about to do is illegal. Sophie finally looked at the certificate her father was holding. I watched her read it. Watched her face crumble. Soph, Josh reached for her. She stepped back. Don't. I can explain. You're married. It's not what you think. You're married. Her voice cracked. You were going to marry me while you're already married to someone else. The church was chaos now. Sophie's mother was crying. The bridesmaids were clustered together, whispering. Guests were pulling out phones, probably Googling Josh Whitmore to verify. Josh tried one more time. Sophie, please, let me explain. Get out. Her voice was steel. Get out of my wedding. This is all a misunderstanding. Get out. He left. Actually left. Walked down the aisle and out of the church while 150 people watched in complete silence. Sophie stood there in her $8,000 dress, holding her bouquet, mascara starting to run. Then she turned to me. How long have you known? 3 months. Her face did something complicated. 3 months. You knew for 3 months and you didn't tell me? I tried. You tried? You could have called. You could have texted. You could have shown up at my apartment. I did try. You were always too busy, and when I brought up concerns about Josh you shut me down. So you waited until my wedding? Until I was standing at the altar in front of everyone I know? I thought if I told you privately you wouldn't believe me. So you humiliated me publicly instead? You ruined my wedding. He ruined your wedding. He's the one who's married. You could have handled this differently. You could have. She stopped, choking on tears. I can't even look at you. She walked down the aisle, dress trailing behind her, and disappeared into the bridal suite. I stood there, still holding my bridesmaid bouquet, while everyone stared at me. Sophie's mother approached. I think you should leave. I was trying to help. You've done enough. I left. Sophie blocked me on everything. Phone, social media, email. I tried to reach out through mutual friends. They said she didn't want to talk to me. Some of them stopped talking to me too. The story spread, obviously. Something that dramatic doesn't stay contained. People took sides. Some said I was a hero for exposing Josh. Some said I was cruel for doing it so publicly. Some said I should have told her sooner. Some said I should have minded my own business. I got messages from strangers. Some supportive. Some hateful. Someone posted the whole story on Reddit and it went viral. People were debating my choices in comments, dissecting my motivations, deciding whether I was justified or jealous. I wasn't jealous. I was never jealous. I was scared for her. But maybe the timing was about more than that. Maybe I was also angry. Angry that she'd pulled away. Angry that she'd chosen Josh over our friendship. Angry that she'd dismissed my concerns. Maybe I wanted her to see, publicly, that I'd been right to be concerned. Maybe I wanted vindication. I don't know. I've been thinking about it for 3 months and I still don't know. 2 weeks after the wedding, Rebecca, Josh's actual wife, reached out to me. We met at a coffee shop in a different city, neutral territory. She was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with tired eyes. Thank you, she said. For stopping the wedding. I had no idea he was planning to marry someone else. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Better than finding out after. Or never finding out at all. She stirred her coffee. He told me he was working on a long-term pharmaceutical project. That he'd be home eventually. I believed him. For years. Did you know he changed his name? No. That was new information. She laughed bitterly. Apparently there's a lot I didn't know. He had a whole second life. What are you going to do? Divorce him. Obviously. I already filed. She looked at me. How's your friend? We're not speaking. She blames you. Yeah. That's not fair. You saved her from making a massive mistake. She doesn't see it that way. She sees me ruining her wedding. Rebecca nodded slowly. Sometimes people need someone to blame. And it's easier to blame the messenger than the person who actually hurt you. We talked for another hour. She told me about Josh's lies, the money he'd been sending, the elaborate stories he'd created. He'd been living double for years. Maybe triple. Maybe there were other women we didn't know about. Do you regret it? She asked as we were leaving. Objecting? I don't know, I admitted. I saved her from marrying a bigamist. But I lost her in the process. Maybe she needs time. Maybe. But 3 months later, I still haven't heard from her. I think about the wedding constantly. About Sophie's face when she realized I was serious. About the way the church went silent. About how I felt standing there with that certificate, destroying everything. I tell myself I did the right thing. That Sophie would have married him, would have found out eventually, maybe after they had kids, maybe after she'd wasted years with him, maybe never. That public humiliation was better than private disaster. But I also know I hurt her. Deeply. Publicly. In a way she might never forgive. Some of our mutual friends have reached out. They tell me Sophie's doing okay. She went back to work. She's in therapy. She's moving on. But she's not moving back toward me. I lost my best friend of 12 years because I told her the truth at the worst possible moment. Could I have done it differently? Yes. Obviously yes. I could have tried harder to meet with her privately. I could have shown up at her apartment unannounced. I could have sent her the certificate in the mail with a note. I could have contacted her parents or her sister and had them intervene. I could have done 100 things that weren't standing up in the middle of her wedding. But I didn't. And I can't take it back. Here's what I keep coming back to, was I protecting her, or was I punishing her? Because if I'm really honest with myself, it felt like both. It felt like saving her from a terrible mistake. But it also felt like forcing her to see that I'd been right all along. That her judgment about Josh was wrong and mine was correct. It felt like love. But it also felt like control. I don't have a neat answer. I don't have a lesson I learned or a moral to the story. I just have this: I told the truth, and it cost me everything. Josh is being investigated for fraud now. Turns out he was never in pharmaceutical sales. He was running a financial scheme, convincing people to invest in fake medical startups. Sophie could have been on the hook for his debts if they'd married. So maybe I saved her from more than just bigamy. Maybe I saved her from financial ruin too. But she doesn't know that. Or maybe she does and it doesn't matter because the humiliation outweighs the salvation. I see her sometimes. In the grocery store. At the coffee shop we used to go to every Sunday. She doesn't acknowledge me. Just looks through me like I'm a stranger. And maybe that's what I am now. The stranger who ruined her wedding. The friend who betrayed her trust. The person who thought she knew better. I stand by what I did. I do. If I could go back, I'd still stop that wedding. Josh was a liar and a criminal and she deserved to know. But I also know I handled it in the cruelest possible way. And I can't forgive myself for that, even if she eventually does. So here's what I'm asking, was I wrong? Not wrong about Josh being married, that's a fact. Not wrong about needing to tell her, that's obvious. But wrong about how I told her. Wrong about the timing. Wrong about making it public. Wrong about prioritizing being right over being kind. Would you have done the same thing? If your best friend was about to marry someone who was lying to her, who was already married, who was living a completely fabricated life, would you have stood up in that church? Or would you have found a different way? Because I'm standing here 3 months later, alone in my apartment, knowing I told the truth but wondering if truth was enough justification for the way I told it. I saved her from a bigamist. But I couldn't save our friendship. And I don't know if that makes me a hero or a villain or just someone who chose the nuclear option when there might have been a softer path. I guess what I'm really asking is, does doing the right thing the wrong way still count as doing the right thing? I don't know. But I know I finally told the truth. And I know that sometimes, the truth costs more than you're prepared to pay. So that's what happened. I told the truth, and I lost my best friend. She'll probably never forgive me, and maybe she shouldn't. But here's what I can't stop asking myself. If you do the right thing in the wrong way, does it still count as doing the right thing? I don't know. You tell me. Am I the villain, or the only one who had the courage to say, I object? Drop your verdict below. I'll be reading every one.